Hello everyone, bringing you a video today detailing a recent display. Those of you who follow on Facebook and Instagram will have seen photographs of this. It was part of a Hangar Open Day at the base of Huey 509. I had a really good day, I have to say. Saw the Huey in flight along with the Loach, which was fantastic. And generally just had a really good time, I have to say. Talked to a lot of people who were very interested. The display was detailing Australian and New Zealand involvement in Vietnam. And a lot of people hadn't really heard of Australia and New Zealand's involvement in Vietnam, so it felt very satisfying to sort of get that out there and talk to people about it. There is a link to the website, of course, for the Huey in a pinned comment down below, and I've also indexed the different sections of the video there because we've got some of the display, some of the Huey in flight, and also Neil, one of the pilots, very kindly took me on a tour around the Huey, talking a little bit about its history. And taking me over some of the details of the controls and so forth. So without further ado, we'll get into the video.
Welcome aboard for the hangar.
So here we are, this is what I've got at the hangar here for display. There's a mannequin left here, which is representing fairly early Australian deployment to Vietnam, 1965. Based directly off photographs, obviously we've got the M1956 equipment and the, well, you can see the pack on the back here with the entrenching tool under the flap. And then, looking over here, we have various bits of small kit and so forth. We've got a pair of British jungle boots at the back there, which were worn by 1st Battalion Royal Australian Regiment early on in Vietnam to a limited degree. So I thought I'd put those on display. We have some small kit and so forth here. The Soldier's Handbook, Guide to Vietnam, which is American, but it's got some interesting bits and pieces in to talk about. Underwear, foot powder tin, obviously the insect repellents, the shell dressing at the back there, hooch and a air mattress, which of course doesn't have the inserts with it, but because I understand they were carried in the field to a degree without them, just to use as a ground sheet essentially, and then a hooch carrier, not widely used but interesting to talk about. Cleaning kit for the SLR and bayonet, and of course we have some mess kit and canteen items here, mess tins, stove, cutlery set at the front there, and then Australian made canteen set, and 56 cover, the amended one with the A and the T added to the US. And then at the back we have a waterproof packed down in its own pocket there. Again, not widely used, but interesting to have and talk about. Sterilising outfit, the Australian copy of the Second World War US collapsible bladder canteen, which of course was used in Vietnam. And then we have the Australian Army Infantry Section leading 1970, which is again an interesting little pamphlet to have a look through. And then at the far end here we have a mannequin representing New Zealand infantry late in the war. So we've got a mixed set of web equipment we've got a 1944 pouch here, an enlarged Australian made 1937 pattern pouch there. One canteen around the front for easy access. We've got a collapsible bladder canteen there on the side, underneath which we have another 1944 pattern pouch, and then a load more canteens around the back here, as you can see, one of which is a 1944 pattern on the far right there, and then the Australian large pack, or as it was colloquially known, the Australian field pack anyway, up on the side. Then of course we've got the later New Zealand shirt, which we talked about in a previous video. So this is my little display that we have in the corner of the hangar here for the Hangar Open Day with the Huey, which has been a good time so far, I have to say. Okay, so we're here with Neil, who's himself a former RAF helicopter pilot, now involved with the Huey here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about this particular aircraft.
Hello, welcome to Huey 509's base. This is up at Wesham in Preston, near Lancashire, and here we are with our wonderful machine to start with. This served in Vietnam with the 129th Air Assault Helicopter Company. It was built in 1972, and then it went straight out to Vietnam. So come on, follow me a moment. If you look at this bit here, this is its registration number. So this is Huey 509 is our call sign. 72 is the year, the fiscal year at which the US Treasury put money in the bank to buy it, okay? So what happens is that it was made at that year and it went straight out from production, straight out to the unit. So it went straight out to Vietnam where it served, and it flew various combat missions. And if you look back inside now, you can see some of the yellow dots on the floor with the flat bits. During the restoration process, we found bullet holes and patches. So rather than hide them as they had been, we decided to highlight them. Because this machine served with the 129th in Vietnam, it flew there, and then the squadron did its tour of duty and then came away. So it actually planned to go in, it planned to come out, and that's why the machine survived. Because once it got back to the States in 1973, it then ended up going around a whole batch of units, from the Air National Guard to the Army Support Aviation Unit, and various things that you may have seen from the narrative, the display board we had. At the end of the day, it was finished with, and it then went to desert storage, and it got sat there for a wee while, and then ultimately stripped down for parts, and then just sat there as a bare hulk for ages and ages, until Phil wanted a Huey, and then lo and behold approached the US Army and then Seattle, and finally got this rebuilt to this standard. Now, there's virtually nothing new on the helicopter. It's all second-hand reconditioned bits and bobs. The new bits tend to be the nuts and bolts, but the actual panels are all a bit wibbly-wobbly because they've had one previous, not very careful owner in them. Anyway, let's have a walk around and a look-see. So here we are, door gunner's position with the M60. They preferred using the M60 because the 50 cal, there's too many ricochets around which tended to hit the other aircraft. So it was a standard issue piece of kit. The guys loved it because it's good from the air, because they'd be maneuvering in this position here, pointing forwards and to the back and maneuvering around. I gather they had some sort of safety harness. I gather quite a few guys didn't actually use it because they didn't like it. So they had a bit of a dog lead around their wrist to the gun. So if they fell out, all that was holding them in was the wrist lead to the gun. And they then scrambled their way back in onto the helicopter. I'm not aware of many people falling out, but I gather it probably happened. Right, let's take a walk around. So here we are with the door fully open, and if you look down here now, you can see a red square. The only reason that's there is that some while back we did a poppy drop at one of our air shows in Northern Ireland at Portrush, which involved emptying a dustbin of poppy leaves, it says here. And of course, with the downwash and the rotor wash, we ended up with as many in the helicopter as out of the helicopter. So now we're going through the process of clearing it all out. So that's what that was about. So taking away, there's the foot transmit switch. The door gunner here's got his hands full with the gun. If he needs to talk, he presses on that with his foot or his elbow or whatever he's got in contact with it to talk to the crew in the front. As soon as he releases the switch, the mic goes dead. Because of course he'd be picking up all the wind rush and everything hanging out of the helicopter all the time. Let's carry on round. So this is our memorial plaque on the door. These are the guys from the 129th who never came back from Vietnam. So the US Army actually quite likes the fact, and the US government like the fact that we are a flying memorial to these lost souls, these brave men who served. And there you go, that's the names of them all. So come on round. Down the tail boom, we've been given permission by the US government to fly with US Army markings. You can't just whack them on and hope for the best. You actually go through a formal process of being vetted and asked why do you want to do it, and they very graciously allowed us to do this. So here we are. Notice on the tail fin we've got the red, white, and blue stripes. That's not just because it's British. They actually, 129, this is their colour scheme. They did fly in Vietnam with this, so how good's that? And on the top of the fin here, you can see here the 129th again. The Americans had air supremacy. So on the top blade is painted black, and the opposite top blade is white. So you get a bit of a strobing effect from above. And that's why the 129th here is in yellow, so the guys from above can look down and see it. If you were unfortunate enough to meet a MiG, so be it, but you are unlikely to do that. So here we are coming round. There's the registration again, and Huey 509 is the call sign that's highlighted out, and this is how it would have been in Vietnam. Coming round the tail rotor. See that she's all been looked after fairly well there, and she glistens in the sun. and in the artificial light here with the WD-40 and the oil just shows it sparkle nicely. Even though we've flown, we managed to avoid the rain. So you can see all sorts of people here enjoying the day in our open day. Not only have we got the Huey here, we've got the Loach next to us, but we'll concentrate on the Huey. So what we'll do now is we'll go and have a look in the cockpit. Yep. Okay, welcome to my office. Here we are sat inside Huey 509's cockpit, and a lot of the instrumentation you see here is original. So the aircraft did fly in Vietnam and it flew beyond Vietnam, so some of the stuff we have is a little later. But I'll point some of that out as we go. So here we go with the standard flight instrument panel. Let me tell you what the non-standard Vietnam things are first. First of all, we have a civilian GPS. We have a civilian TCAS here. We have a civilian stopwatch here. Other than that, all the rest are original. They're all original. The co-pilot side is all original, apart from the GPS on that side over there. This top panel here, this is non-standard. This bit here, obviously we've got a charger unit, we've got the guns and the music switches here. Because when we're in long distance transit, we can actually have like a CD player on going through the aircraft, and we play Good Morning Vietnam. And what happens is as soon as anybody coughs, talks, or air traffic talk to us, it stops the messages and whatever's said, and then the moment there's been a few seconds of silence, it starts playing again where it left off. So there you go. And we also fly with the M60s on the side that I showed you earlier, and they are gas powered, so they do fire. When I say fire, it's an oxygen propane mix into a spark plug. So there's no FOD, no debris, no blanks, no links, nothing like that. It's purely noise and burnt gas out of the exhaust. And the master switch to arm it is here. Okay, so these panels here are US Army original stuff, but they're just fascias. There's nothing in them. There's nothing underneath them. There's nothing tucked away down the back of the helicopter. So they're just there for look and to fill the hole. This panel here is our civilian comms panel, where we've got the intercom selector switch, we've got twin civilian VHF radios and a transponder unit. That is original. The stick here is all original. There's also a light here saying NVG. They didn't have NVG in Vietnam at the time on the helicopters, so again that is a later modification. A bit like when you were looking at the outside there's a few things that aren't original Vietnam, like the missile approach warning mounts on the nose, the wire cutters are post-Vietnam, the NVG formation lighting out there is post-Vietnam. The engine intake is actually spiracles, which is sort of air goes in and spins round, throwing debris to the edge. Well, in Vietnam it was just a mesh grill with like a letterbox, so not as safe, should we say, for the engine. So we've left the safety features in. What else to tell you? No, I think that's it for now. Okay, coming into the overhead panel here, all this is original as it would be in Vietnam, with the exception of one switch there, master avionics switch, which is our one to isolate the GPSs if we needed to switch that off. Okay, so flying this old girl, the seats, as you see, we've got armoured seats here. Notice the size of the springs on the back. I'm afraid the Huey does shake and rattle during startup and shutdown particularly, but it does wobble in flight. In the back we've got various seats, but for real in Vietnam they'd have a clear space, clear floor. I gather the troops used to call the sound of the Huey coming the sound of angels, because it meant it was either bringing in fresh guys, fresh resupply, ammunition, and then it was going to take the wounded out. So they called it the sound of angels. Right, so the only other seats in the back would be the door gunners' positions. They may have a seat, they may have an ammunition box to sit on. I'm not quite sure how that was, but I've got a feeling there was not a lot in the back. By having a clear floor, of course, you can appreciate that you've got more flexibility to respond quicker. So you're taking troops on this one, sit on the floor, or you're taking ammunition boxes, chuck them in. Right, stretchers with wounded, chuck them in type thing. That's all. So, the UH-1, utility helicopter one. There we go. What more can I tell you about it? She's a delight to fly, and I love flying her. I hope you've enjoyed the tour.
So there we are. That was a brief look at the events of the Hangar Open Day. I hope you found that interesting, looking around the aircraft, and also a brief look at my display. As I say, very satisfying to be able to get the story of the ANZAC involvement in Vietnam out there. Not something many people have heard of. A recent development with the Huey is they've begun to offer flights. So if you'd be interested in going up in a Vietnam veteran Huey, and you're in the UK or can get to the UK, I recommend checking that out. As I say, there's a link to the website in the pinned comment down below, and you'll be able to find out details about that there, and also future open days and things. If you're able to get to the area and come and have a look, it's well worth coming and having a look. The hangar itself and the setup they've got there is brilliant, and the aircraft are readily accessible to have a look round. So definitely recommend popping along if you can in the future. I think the next one will be next summer sometime, or possibly in the spring, but there will be updates on the website in due course, I'm sure. So I hope you found that interesting, as I always say. If you like my uploads and you'd like to support the channel, there is of course a Patreon page. There's a link to that in the description, and you get the opportunity to vote on the Mannequin of the Month videos there if you subscribe to the corporal tier. There's also a PayPal link for those who very kindly make one-time donation to the channel. I'm always very grateful for those. It really is appreciated. And of course you can subscribe as well. If you find my videos interesting and you'd like to see more in the future, make sure to subscribe and hit the little notification button. And also there's the Facebook and the Instagram page, which I mentioned at the start, where I've put up photographs of the display for those who may be interested in seeing that. But that's everything for this video. So until next time, bye for now.